Montenegro. Vast mountains with towering peaks, thick forests, charming medieval towns, emerald waters of the Adriatic Sea, delicious traditional cuisine, fascinating history, breathtaking views all throughout. Montenegro seems to have it all, packed into one compact country in the west-central Balkans. It remains a hidden gem ready to be discovered. Over the coming week, I was ready to explore the different facets of Montenegro, from the southern coastline with picture-perfect towns and islands, to the historic cradle of the country in the majestic highlands around Cetinje, to Europe's southernmost fjord-like bay, the Bay of Kotor, a mesmerizing UNESCO heritage wonder, to the vast mountain plateau in the west, and all the way to the high roads of the Accursed Mountain range around Rozaje in the very east. I was ready for my grand road trip through Montenegro. My journey should start at the southernmost town of the country in Ulcinj. Ulcinj may be best known for its beaches and as a destination for sun-hungry visitors. But the city also offers a rich history that dates back to ancient times. Its strategic location has made it a melting pot of cultures, and the influences from Illyrians, Romans, Byzantines, Venetians, and Ottomans are palpable, as each civilization has left its mark on the city. The Old Town, with its narrow streets and ancient architecture, is a testament to this historical richness. I passed the Velika Plaza, a seemingly endless 12-kilometer-long sandy beach along the Adriatic Sea and known for its golden sands and clear waters, and headed straight to the Old Town. Making my way past the city beach, which sits in a picturesque bay, I made my way straight to Ulcinj Castle, a historic fortress perched on a hill overlooking the sea that offers panoramic views of the city and its surroundings. The Old Town, with its castle walls, is a labyrinth of narrow streets, ancient buildings and historic sites, and provided me a glimpse into Ulcinj's past. My journey through Montenegro was off to a fantastic start. The next stop of my trip was a bit further to the north, at the small coastal town of Bar. I was going to visit the old olive tree of Bar, which is believed to be over 2,000 years old. This places it amongst the oldest olive trees in the world, and its continued growth and fruit bearing are a testament to the favorable climate and conditions of the region. Known locally as Stara Maslina, the ancient tree holds a special place in the hearts of the community and stands as a symbol of endurance and heritage. Looking at the tree, I could not help but think what this tree has witnessed over time. It has withstood centuries of history, including the rise and fall of empires and the transformation of landscapes. Its gnarled trunk and twisted branches tell a silent story of the people and events that have shaped this region. I stood in awe of the tree's silent strength and felt I was becoming part of the narrative that extends far beyond the lifespan of any individual. A story written by the winds, the seasons, and the people who have called this region home for centuries. Just an olive pit throw away, I visited the old town of Bar, which bears evidence of settlements from the Roman period. It played a strategic role as a fortified settlement throughout various historical periods. Stari Bar is a significant part of Bar Old Town and is known for its well-preserved medieval architecture. I wandered the narrow cobblestone streets, past the colorful traditional market stalls, and marveled at ancient buildings and Bar Castle with its medieval origins that provide a glimpse into the town's past. Less than an hour further north, along the stunning Adriatic coast, I arrived at the small islet and exclusive resort of Sveti Stefan. This place offers stunning views and a unique blend of historical architecture and rather exclusive luxury. The fortified island is connected to the mainland by a narrow causeway. The history of Sveti Stefan dates back to the 15th century, when it served as a fortress to protect the local population from pirates and invaders. Until the 1960s, the island was home to a fishing village, but the fishermen's homes have then been converted into luxury suites and villas as part of a high-end resort. While the island is off-limits to non-guests, the public beach is accessible for everyone and offers prime views on the island and its medieval stone structures with red-tiled roofs that add to the charming and romantic atmosphere. Sveti Stefan may be the most photogenic landmark along the Montenegrine coast, and I was glad to catch a glimpse of its beauty. I spent the next day of my trip in the mountain town of Cetinje, often referred to as the old royal capital of Montenegro. The trip there was very scenic, as the road quickly climbs the steep mountains that oversee the coastal town of Budva. I enjoyed the views down to the emerald shores of Budva, but decided to pay the city a visit on a future trip, as it seemed just too crowded with international tourists that have recently driven up prices to a point that has prompted many locals to leave the city. Cetinje holds a special place in the country's history. It became an important town during the rule of Prince Nikola Petrovic in the mid-19th century and was home to the first ruler's residence, a relatively modest red-colored two-floored building that now serves as a museum that showcases lots of period artifacts, documents, and royal memorabilia. On the other side of the street stands the Biljarda, the billiard house. The castle-like palace, famous as the location of the country's first pool table, was the residence of Montenegro's favorite son, Prince Bishop and poet Petar II, Petrovic Njegos. It was built and financed by the Russians in 1838 and now serves as a museum showcasing an eclectic collection of historical artifacts. The beginnings of Cetinje as the capital were still modest, as the 1860 census only counted 34 households. After the ousting of the Ottomans in 1878, Cetinje served as the capital of Montenegro for several decades, until Podgorica took over that role in 1946. The town's historical significance is deeply intertwined with the country's struggle for independence and has played a crucial role in Montenegro's efforts to maintain autonomy during periods of foreign rule. Just behind the Biljarda, the Accursed Monastery, built in the 15th century, stands as a spiritual and cultural landmark. It houses the relics of St. Peter of Cetinje, a significant figure in Montenegrin history. The Ivan Sronojevec Boulevard was a great place to continue my walking tour. As the central promenade in Cetinje, it is lined with historic buildings, cafes, shops, and provided a pleasant space for strolling and soaking in the town's atmosphere. The villa of Đukanović, the former president of the State Council of the Kingdom, caught my eye. Built in 1910 in the Renaissance architectural style, it is considered one of the most beautiful residential buildings of the city. The two-story house with an attic has beautifully decorated windows and a balcony, and impresses with 4 sculptures in front of the main facade. The female figures represent the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The villa is neighbor to several former diplomatic missions that boast turn-of-the-century architecture. I started to get hungry and was ready to explore some of the famous Montenegrin cuisine. Luckily, I spotted Kole restaurant, a short walk up the street, and indulged in a feast of some of the most delicious food I would have on the trip, including black risotto, squid, and boiled lamb. After a relaxing day at Cetinje, I took the beautiful drive into the mountains of Lovcen National Park. This lovely nature reserve offers ample opportunities for hiking and enjoying the serene nature away from the crowds that flock to the coast in the summer months. Lovcen National Park is also home to the mausoleum of Petar II, Petrovic Njegos, the prominent Montenegrin ruler and poet. I headed up the tunnel with seemingly endless steps that led up to the central mausoleum. From there, a walking path leads to a viewing platform that offers stunning views of the surrounding landscapes. Impressed by the bold architecture and monuments, as well as the magical atmosphere of the place that thrones over the majestic mountains all around, I was keen to learn more about the person who found his last resting place here. Njegos is remembered for laying the foundation for the modern Montenegrin state and was one of the most acclaimed South Slavic poets of his time. He is highly regarded both in Montenegro and Serbia, and his influence parallels that of Shakespeare in the English-speaking world. One of his most prominent works, the Gorski Vijenac, has become the basic educational text and national epic for Montenegrins and Serbs, reaffirming its connection to the Serbian and Christian worlds and celebrating the military skill of its warriors. The site of today's mausoleum atop Mount Lovcen was originally the place of a small chapel dedicated to his predecessor Petar I, who is canonized by the Serbian Orthodox Church as St. Peter of Cetinje. Njegos had designed the chapel himself and oversaw its construction in 1845. Following his death in October 1851, Njegos was interred at the Cetinje Monastery, from where his remains were transferred to Mount Lovcen in 1855. When Yugoslavia came under communist rule, the communist authorities decided to replace Njegos' chapel with a secular mausoleum designed by Ivan Meštrović. In the late 1960s, the chapel was demolished, and in 1974 the new mausoleum was officially inaugurated. After some last views of the mesmerizing panorama around me, I decided to take the drive back down to the sea level, to the Bay of Kotor. This would become one of the most stunning drives I've ever taken. What made it so special was the dramatic setting of the narrow road along meandering twists and turns down the steep mountain flanks, paired with the soft glistening of the milky air. A nearby forest fire dipped the scenery into a hazy glow that even the sun had difficulties to penetrate. Kotor, historically known as Kataro, is located in the far end of the Bay of Kotor. The scenery is reminiscent of the fjords of Norway, but the bay is officially a submerged river canyon. And not unlike in Norway, large cruise ships regularly anchor here, unloading hundreds of visitors onto the small cobblestone paved alleys of the old town. The fortified city of Kotor is truly impressive. This old Mediterranean maritime center on the Adriatic Sea is surrounded by massive fortifications that date back to the Venetian period of the 16th and 17th centuries. Not surprisingly, with its well-preserved medieval architecture, dramatic landscapes and rich history, it has been rewarded the status of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. After passing the harbor, I went on a walking tour through the old town of Kotor, a maze of narrow cobblestone streets, squares and historic buildings. The medieval architecture is characterized by well-preserved city walls, churches and palaces, all protected by impressive stone wall fortifications. The city walls of Kotor stretch over 4.5 kilometers and provide panoramic views of the bay and the town. I climbed up to the top of the city walls to get the most breathtaking vistas. The main square of the old town, the Square of the Arms, is surrounded by notable buildings including the clock tower and the Prince's Palace. It serves as a central gathering place with outdoor cafes and boasts a lively atmosphere. Not far, the St. Tryphon Cathedral, dating back to the 12th century, is a prime example of Romanesque architecture. It houses relics of St. Tryphon, the patron saint of Kotor. Strolling through the maze of narrow alleys, I spotted a seemingly endless array of Venetian-style palaces, the homes of wealthy traders of a bygone era, picturesque squares, quirky shops and cozy cafes and restaurants. Several museums welcome visitors to tell stories of the rich history of the city. But perhaps the most memorable experience was watching the cats of Kotor. Kotor is the city of cats, and they seem to be the real heroes of the town. It was fun to observe their playful interactions and laid-back demeanor despite the hustle and bustle around them. My last plan for the day was to head up to Kotor Fortress. Kotor Fortress, also known as the Castle of St. Giovanni or St. John's Fortress, is prominently overlooking the old town of Kotor. But a walk up to the historical walls of the highest fortification structures should prove to be quite an arduous undertaking. What initially looked like a short walk up a hill proved to be quite a steep hike up a whopping 1,350 steps along an at times very narrow cobblestone paved track that was not made any easier by a relentless summer sun. But every step should be worth the effort. Offering breathtaking panoramic views of the Bay of Kotor throughout the climb, the hike itself, with its many multiple switchbacks, was the destination. The construction of the fortress dates back to ancient times, with some parts believed to have been built during the Illyrian period. The fortress underwent significant expansions and renovations during the Byzantine and Venetian rule. I passed several massive fortification buildings and defensive walls, strategically placed towers, and the Church of Our Lady of Remedy along the way, and eventually made it atop the main fortress. From here, I could see how this location provided a superior vantage point for monitoring and defending the town against potential invaders. So here's a pro tip. If you get tired coming up here, the views are just as good from halfway up here than from all the way up. So do yourself a favor and don't do all the stairs, at least not on a hot day like me. Yes, the views are great, but they were just as great from the midpoint. After a lovely night in an apartment overlooking the Bay of Kotor, I continued my journey, taking the ravishing drive along the shore. After a little while, I stopped at the charming village of Perast. Known for its well-preserved architecture, historical landmarks, and scenic surroundings, Perast is yet another one of those picturesque places that make Montenegro such a special destination for travelers. Situated near the entrance to the Veriga Strait, it is nestled between the Adriatic Sea and the rugged mountains surrounding the bay, providing a stunning natural setting. The small town is characterized by well-preserved stone buildings, palaces, and churches that contribute to its historical charm, and the numerous dazzling villas and mansions show off a blend of Baroque, Renaissance, and Venetian styles, reflecting the town's prosperity gained through its notable contributions to shipbuilding, seafaring, and trade. But Perast is maybe most renowned for the nearby islet called Our Lady of the Rocks. This artificial islet is home to a Catholic church and a museum. Legend has it that local sailors would drop stones at the spot after each successful voyage, eventually forming the islet. Another islet nearby is St. George's Island, also called Cetinje, which hosts an ancient Benedictine monastery that adds to the historical and religious significance of the area. I continued my way northwest to the historical region of Grahovo, nearing the border to Bosnia-Herzegovina. Grahovo was the site of multiple important battles over centuries, but the one that is ingrained in the collective memory of Montenegrins is the Battle of 1858 against the army of Ottoman commander Hussein Pasha. On April the 29th that year, a fierce and bloody battle between the two rivaling armies erupted. Outnumbered by the Ottomans, who also had superior cannons, the Montenegrins bravely charged an attack and took over the cannons, resulting in a historic victory. This Montenegrin success forced the great powers to officially demarcate the borders between Montenegro and the Ottoman Empire, de facto recognizing Montenegro's centuries-long independence. But this victory came at a price, as 3,000 Ottomans and 1,000 Montenegrins lost their lives in only a couple of days. The historic battle would be immortalized in the songs and literature of the South Slavs and several monuments across the region. Some quote Njegos, the mountain worth, which reads, "The monument to your bravery is Montenegro and its freedom." The restaurant Grahovac 1858 was a fitting place to celebrate the historic events with some delicious Montenegrin food. The roasted lamb with kačamak and the beef stew with salad were not only a culinary highlight of my trip, they were also quite affordable. It was rewarding to experience the rich flavors and traditional cooking methods of Montenegro that combine influences from Mediterranean, Balkan, and Italian cuisines. I spent the remainder of the day at the world-famous Ostrog Monastery, a unique and revered religious site situated perched on the vertical cliffs of Mount Otroška Greda in central Montenegro. Offering breathtaking views of the surrounding landscape, the monastery is a significant pilgrimage destination and holds great spiritual and cultural importance. It is perceived to have miraculous healing powers. Founded in the 17th century by Metropolitan Vasilije, a bishop of the Serbian Orthodox Church, its construction involved the carving of cave-like spaces into the rock of the mountain, creating a unique and awe-inspiring architectural marvel. I was glad to have witnessed the special site, which is a major pilgrimage destination for Orthodox Christians from Montenegro and beyond. On my last day in Montenegro, I continued my journey all the way to the very northeast of the country. My destination was the small town of Rozaje. Rozaje can be considered the center of the Bosniak community of Montenegro, as Bosniaks form the majority in both the town and the municipality. The town is surrounded by the vast mountain peaks that belong to the northern part of the Accursed Mountains range. From here, it's not far to Serbia's southern region around Novi Pazar and to Kosovo. Driving the large forests and magnificent mountains here was an incredible experience and was a fitting closing point of my road trip through this delightful country. And I can't wait to come back again to see more of Montenegro. I'm yet to experience Podgorica, the capital city, Tara River Canyon, Indomitor National Park, the second deepest canyon in the world, and the old citadel of Budva. But that will be the story of another time.